Boys, we're getting the very first sneak peek at a bunch of maps of Eastern Europe, the most important part of Europe, voted best part of Europe by Eastern Europeans 20 times in a row within a year, which is just weird, but that's just how it goes in Eastern Europe. Okay, don't question it, or you go into the gulag. You hear me now? I'm just gonna go ahead and show the map from the get-go. Guys, a lot of things are happening in Eastern Europe at the start of the campaign for EU5. First off, Lithuania is significantly smaller than it is in EU4. Then we also have Kiev as well as Galicia, Volhynia as separate entities. Poland does have a lot more of its lands as part of its various subjects rather than directly consolidated onto itself yet, which is a process that actually started a few years prior, and it's definitely undergoing. By 1444 it would be significantly less duchies that have more autonomy. Now we do have a basically massive war between the Teutonic Order and the Lithuanians that are allied with the Poles. There's so much going on here at the start of the campaign that it is absolutely delicious. As you guys know, I absolutely love the Teutonic Order, and having this particular war displayed it just warms my hand. It just warms my heart as much as Wormia here. Anyway, that's a bad joke. I'm just gonna cut that out. In any case, the Teutonic Order starts with a few lands actually owned here and over in the northern bits of Memel. Don't forget that the Livonian Order is also essentially a part of the Teutonic Order. It's sister brotherhoods, and the main purpose of the Teutons in this particular area was initially to convert the pagans of the Duchy of Lithuania. That's an ongoing process in 1444, as we very well know, and we'll see in the religious map mode as I progress in this particular Tinto talks. There's still a buttload of pagans that, spoiler alert, did get converted in the next 100 years or so, albeit the Teutonic Order was initially invited by the Polish kings to Christianize and just, you know, make all these Chad lords over here in Lithuania Catholics. Well, the Teutons decided they are gonna make their own little schnappeldupe of a nation, and they're gonna be taking land from the Poles, which is what they did. After this war, the Poles and the Teutons came to an agreement in which the Polish king let the Teutons keep control over certain areas, whilst some other areas were returned to the Polish crown. Next 100 years, the Teutons and the Poles are going to be at odds massively, and then later down the line, obviously, the Polish win the campaign and they take over all of the Teutonic lands. But in 1337, it's not so clear who would be the winner. In fact, if you ask me, the Teutonic Order kind of has the upper hand because they have a professional army of hardened, battle-tested knights, a lot of infantry, and the Bohemians should be allied with the Teutons in this particular war. So it's Poland and Bohemia at odds again, not just the Teutons and Poland, and of course Lithuania too. You probably also noticed Polotsk, Vitebsk, Smolensk, Ryzev, and all the other nations here, the various duchies here are of course vassals of the Lithuanian crown. However, they do have at least they should have a very high degree of autonomy. There are some independent ones of course here as well. We have Bryansk and Karachev, and we also have Trubchevsk. I honestly never even heard about this one, but gotta be right. Kiev, however, is huge, man. It is also a very high autonomy territory of the Lithuanians, so technically it is a part of Lithuania, but it has massive autonomy, something that we should see Transylvania represented as in Hungary, if you ask me. We get a much clearer picture of what's going on in Silesia as well. It is a cluster schnitzel of various entities here. We've got Tess, Osvichin, Rabichop, Opoler, I know I'm 25.100% Bohemian, so I know exactly how to pronounce these. Moravia, of course, is separate from Bohemia. That should go without saying. And despite that, Bohemia is actually quite strong. Should technically be quite strong. But Hungary is the big boy in this area. Also, speaking of, I really hope they change the color of Hungary, because right now the way it looks, Hungary, Poland, and Lithuania have almost the same color. If you ask me, it's very little difference, and maybe make Poland's color a little bit different as well, not as much as it is. Honestly, look at it. I cannot tell the difference between the three of them. Come on, make them a bit different in my opinion. This maybe intensify the the saturation or something. I don't know. That being said, we also have in the north here Pskov, and we've got the Novgorod Republic, which is pretty massive, and then we have the lands of the Danes in Estonia. However, as you guys probably know, Denmark technically technically does not exist in 1337. So these lands, I'm not sure how that's going to be. I don't know how the Danish situation in general is going to be represented in EU5. So that's going to leave a massive question mark, that is for sure. Now let's go over to the actual dev diary. Pavia introduces us to Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, and the Baltic Legion, and mentions that a picture of what's going on in the region today, we haven't had it shown entirely before. To the west, the Kingdom of Poland is ruled by Casimir III of the House of Piast. It is not a completely unified kingdom, as there are several powerful vassals under him. Most of them are also Piast themselves, though. To the east, the Duchy of Lithuania is ruled by Gediminas, who has greatly expanded the influence of his country into Russian lands. Most of these areas are in fact Ruthenians. Gediminas himself entitled himself in his diplomatic correspondence as king, but was considered by the Pope king or duke, and the title of Grand Duke wouldn't be formally adopted until later, most likely replicating the Russian titled Grand Prince. That's why Lithuania starts as a duchy, although it will have an event that would make it possible to adopt the dynamic name of Grand Duchy as you progress. To the south, the principalities of Kiev, Galicia, Volhynia have fallen recently under foreign influence. The first ruled by Theodore, brother of Gediminas of Lithuania, and the second by Yuri, also from the Piast dynasty, which is why I'm assured that there's going to be events that will make Galicia, Volhynia integral part of Poland, and of course give more integration for the Kievan lands for the Lithuanian crown as well. To the north, we have the Teutons and the Livonian Order, which conquered lands of Prussia, Livonia a century ago, are at war against Poland and Lithuania after a long established rivalry. As a side note, we'll talk about Moldova in the Tinto talks devoted to the Carpathian region, as it's currently in a placeholder spot. It better be, man! Why is Transylvania not shown? I'm getting triggered. Like, showing Croatia, which had significantly less autonomy than Transylvania had, is just weird to me. It makes no sense. But again, we'll talk about that in a future dev diary, of course. A new map mode, the diplomatic one. The game starts with an ongoing war between Poland and Lithuania and their respective vassals on one note, and the Teutons and Livonian Order and Bohemia and its vassals on the other. That is actually very accurate. Glad to see that they're properly depicting this. Now, I'm actually curious, who is the war leader, right? Is Poland the war leader and everybody else is a co-belligerent? Because that's probably what it should be, right? Because we have Poland with a slightly different color and everybody else has a darker shade of green. Oh, actually, this map, the diplomatic one, shows more of the map itself. We have more of the nations in the HR. We have Volgast, Kamin, we've got Stettin, Mecklenburg, Varan, Rostov, Gustrov, Rupin as well, and a few others over there. Magdeburg, Lusatia is also properly shown. Wait, did they make... Oh, they changed the map since the last dev diary. Okay, all right, that is definitely changed. Holy snaps. Okay, good to see. All right, so it's definitely more accurate now. Lusatia here, Meissen, Landsberg, Anhalt as well, Saxe-Wittenberg, and everybody else there. And we also have the difference here between the two Rigas, of course. It's not the same name on the map. There's a slightly different change here, and we have a punctuation. I'm guessing, I don't know, RGL, what would that stand for? Bishopric of Riga, I would assume, right? But what would the L stand for? That's just, I don't know. We also have the locations map mode, and this is a pretty sizable one as well. A ton of locations. The world is definitely split massively here. I'm kind of assuming that they started working on Eastern Europe a little bit later down the line, because I'm starting to see improvements as we go towards the HRE and we go towards Eastern Europe. There's things that I feel like they probably will eventually add into Western Europe as well before the game actually gets launched. So this probably means that what we've seen so far from Western European maps, especially Spain, which was the first one to be created, right, is going to be different by the time the game gets actually launched. So keep this as a placeholder, but don't think this is going to be the final touch for it. Here you have locations of Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, and the Baltic region. Some issues have already been reported by our Polish co-workers as the inconsistencies of locating names in Polish. We'll use proper Polish letters more thoroughly, and we've also started to review both the Polish and Baltic location based on the early feedback he gave us. Also, the Vistula and Koronian lagoons missing is a bug. We'll properly re-add them whilst doing the map review. This is the province map mode. So province-wise, we've got significantly less locations within provinces, that's for sure, compared to Western Europe from what I noticed. I mean, like, Ragnit's got like, what, 4 locations? Not even. It has 3 locations in Ragnit itself. Yeah, a lot less compared. Vilnius, for example, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, I'm not sure, but that would be one of the bigger areas and more significant ones, so it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Any suggestions for provincial naming are pretty welcome, as with the last dev diary, so make sure you go to the forums and let them know. Also, let me know in the comment section as well. And we also have the terrain, which is pretty much entirely continental with a little bit of a difference in the south here. Almost everything is flatlands with the exception in the southern bits of modern Belarusia, northern Ukraine, which is marshes. This is very accurate, actually. I didn't know that we have a little bit of marsh north of Warsaw, south of the Teutonic lands. I genuinely didn't know that. Cool. We have the mountainous areas of the Carpathians and hills as well, and we have a buttload of forests and woods all around this area, with the Ukrainian bits being significantly more grassland. Well, technically that would be the Golden Horde area, because Ukraine at this point would be just Kiev, right? And now, guys, is a culture map mode. Before we go into this, Pavia says the Baltic lands have an interesting mix of different cultures. Western Baltic culture represents the people speaking a West Baltic language, such as Old Prussian, Yadvingians, Curonians, EU4 Virgins, whilst Prussian is the culture of the German settlers of that area. On that style, we have Baltic German culture in the lands of Livonia, Estonia, that already got settled by German-speaking people. So this would be in areas like the actual cities of Riga, Tallinn, and so on, where the city itself, not the agricultural or surrounding farms and so on, the city would be majority Germanic speakers, Baltic Germans. It actually stayed so up until late 19th, early 20th century for that matter, to various degrees, of course. The divide between Polish Ruthenian, first time I heard about that, might be too deep, so we'll most likely add a bit more mixed situation in the border between the two cultures. Suffice to say, religious is also very interesting. We'll get back to that in a second. This is what the culture map mode looks like. Samogitian, a buttload of... Actually, the whole Baltic is a cluster schnitzel. An actual cluster schnitzel. Look at this. Okay, Western Baltic. So we still have some of the old Baltic cultures in 1337, not just the Prussians that are slowly taking over all the areas here in the Teutonic lands. Kashubians we have as well, which are their own culture apparently. Poles, Silesians, Moravians, Czechs, Slovak. Russians we have also here, which is actually a very interesting culture. They trace their origins back to the early Slavic migrations, and some would say that it's likely that they have common, or to a certain degree, closer genetical and linguistic relations with the early Croats that, or Hrvatsk, or whatever you want to call them, that migrated into the south parts of the Balkans. We also have the Cumans, which are known from the popular game Kingdom Come Deliverance, 1300s. The Cumans likely retained some historical or some cultural identity, better yet, but in 100 years, even in 1300s, it's kind of debatable. Reality is they would speak a Hungarian by this point, almost all of them, and not only that, but they will likely have Hungarian customs by now, but sure, whatever. I like to see that we have Zeklers. I think we do have Zeklers, right, illustrated on the map. That's really, really nice. I think they're shown as... Okay, question. What is Transylvanian culture? Is that Romanians, or is that the Zeklers, or what's going on? Because if it's Hungarian here and that just doesn't make any sense. I'm actually confused. Like, either this is not finished, or is it... What's going on here? Because Transylvanian would not be the majority here. It would be literally the opposite side. We'll see, because we haven't had an actual development diary for Carpathia just yet, so let's see when that happens. Look at Ruthenian, guys. Massive amounts of Ruthenians. Novgorod in the north. I don't know what this is, but I'm curious what you guys think this is. So I guess we don't have Muscovite, or Muscovite's a little bit more to the eastern parts, I guess, in that case. No freaking clue. We also don't have Belarusian yet, so not sure how accurate the eastern parts of Europe are. If you know better than me, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna read all the comments, of course, and I'm actually really curious to know what's going on, because there's a lot of questions like Aukštaitian and Samogitian. I never even knew there's two separate cultures of Lithuanians. I'm assuming this is based on the religion, or not, because technically it shows here that most of these areas are still Romuvas, including the Samogitias and the other dudes. We do have Catholicism in the western parts, Orthodoxy, of course, in the east, and we've got, I'm assuming, what would be either some type of animism or something of the sorts in the Ingrian parts for the Ingrian cultures. Pavia says a region with a more more interesting religion setup. Apart from the Catholic Orthodox divide, you also see Romuvan religion, which was a hot topic in 1337. The Dukes of Lithuania converted into Catholicism, or will he stay pagan? Red stripes to the north are the animist population, alright? Also disregard the Sunni population to the southeast, as we have to review all the pops of the Pontic steppes as well. Yeah, you have, because the leadership converted to Islam 30 years prior to the start date. The people there would be mostly Orthodox, because they were Orthodox, the Ruthenians, or would be Tengri if it was the Tatars. They wouldn't be Muslim. Maybe half of the Tatars would be Muslim, but not all of them. So this is extremely inaccurate. Glad to see that they're going to review that, because that's just weird. Thou shall have lumber. That's what they said, because there's a buttload of lumber, which is good. It means that when it comes to basic production of stuff, you're going to be importing from Eastern Europe a buttload of lumber, especially in the early campaign, I'm assuming, because if there's one thing they have, it's woods and forests. There's a lot of fur as well, wild game, livestock, wool, all types of animals and stuff that grows in forests. Not so many specialized goods, as you probably noticed. We have a little bit of copper here, some horses there, some amber here. The specialized stuff I see is getting more specialized the more west you go on the map. We got salt, we got iron, we've got dyes over in Danzig, I would assume. A little bit of clay, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty centralized, actually. In the Carpathians, it gets super interesting though, because it is mountainous area. So you have alum, you've got gems, you got silver, you got gold, you got tin, you got copper, you got lead as well, which I'm assuming will be used in manufacturing your ammunition for the guns, right? I guess that's going to be a thing. More lead, more lead, more lead, more iron, more iron, more iron, more silver, more silver, more salt, more gold. Oh shit, there's 2 gold mines, one in Silesia, one in Slovakia. Oh, that is so cool. Actually, is there any other gold mine around that I haven't noticed? That's the only 2 gold mines I spot. From the distribution of the material, maybe a couple of things might catch your eye. The first is there's an amber good presence on the shores of the Baltic Sea. The second is that the Tatra Mountains in Slovakia has a bunch of precious metals, which makes them a very interesting area to exploit and develop. 100% agree with that, yes. And now we have the juicy population map mode. This is the individual population map mode, and they mentioned that the total population of Estonia is not 711 people. That's for the total of its owner, which would be Denmark, and they've read our feedback regarding the population map mode, so they're going to be improving the visuals for the next guessing for the next dev diary. It might not be for the next dev diary. Now take a look here, guys. 1.5 million population in Lithuania, 1.8 million in Poland, 1 million in the Teutonic lands, 900,000 in Galicia, 500,000 in Novgorod, 700,000 in Denmark, all over Denmark, right? 2 million in Bohemia, or 1.2 or some shit like that. The point is that Eastern Europe is less than half of Western Europe. So when the plague hits, oh my god, is it actually going to affect the schnapps out of this area? It's going to be interesting to see how Eastern Europe's going to cope after the plague is over within its lands. We also have the markets here. We have Krakow, we've got Lubeck, Riga, I'm not sure what that is, probably Saxony or something like that. We got Pest, we have Kiev, we have Kaffa still, Novgorod. Next week is Italy. I was going to say it should be Italy next week, because Italy is literally the last part of the map which we haven't had illustrated, and a more detailed political map of the HRE would be nice as well. Once that's done, we pretty much have the entirety of Europe as a political map as it stands. Now, I also waited for an extra day before making this dev diary video, because I wanted to see what leaks we get from the comment section, of course. So let's check it out. Apparently there's going to be some content related to the Union of Crowns with Hungary for Poland. A lot of people are not really happy about the Carpathian bits. Not surprised at all, honestly. Not only Transylvania, there's other parts of the Carpathians that need to be properly done, in my opinion, because if there's one bunch of salty people in Europe, it's the ones in the Carpathians. Balkans, we hate each other and love each other at the same time. Okay, it's a complicated relationship. Isn't Estonia pagan? And Pavia says we might have to add more pagan pops there. Indeed. There's content portraying the German migration to the east. Old Prussians are covered under the West Baltic culture. Sephardic and Ashkenazi are different cultures apparently as well. And he says the Livonian and the Teutonic Order are independent orders. Oof. And also, speaking of the Livonians, they should get an option to purchase the Danish lands in Estonia from the Danish, because that's what happened a few years after the start date. I think 1346, around that point, they did purchase the Estonian lands from Denmark, which in 1444 belonged to the Livonian Order. Just wanted to add that in there because I feel like they should. Why is Memel not square? Petition to make Memel square, at least in version 1.0 quickly, and then we change it after. All right, so yeah, okay, so scrolling down, the Livonians do start as a vassal of the Teutons. Makes a lot more sense. Way more sense. Oh, this is good, guys. So we have Slavic-speaking Silesians and German-speaking Silesians. So we have German Silesians and regular Silesians. Holy shit, this is something I think a lot of people really wanted to see, because obviously that is a historical thing right there. We also have the ability to rename locations in-game, so expect a lot of Bobs and Veganas around my particular land. Green stripes in the diplomatic map mode for Danzig means that it's a Polish war, and the Teutons are the aggressors in the war. And also he mentions that Lithuania might have an opportunity to convert to Orthodoxy if it aligns itself with the Russian principalities. And very nice message from him from 33 minutes ago. It's great to see good reception from the Tinto maps we've had. Reading such warm messages keeps it pushing forward. Secondly, by reading all your posts, we're aware that there's plenty of room to improve the regions. We'll work hard to review the region according to the feedback and even better, make them even better, fulfill your expectations about it. I love that. I love that, man. It goes to show that the development team for EU5 really loves what they're doing as much as we love reading their little sneak peeks into their projects, and we really appreciate that they're sharing this with us. They want the community to be a part of the development process of EU5. And no, I'm not going to call it Project Caesar. You got a problem with that? Huh? Take it up with the Department of Project Caesar Affairs. Okay, totally a department. In any case, love you guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Was that a little bit too much? Did I not kiss?